Ukraine is warning that Russia's ballistic missile arsenal remains one of the biggest threats in the ongoing war. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Russia currently has between 600 and 630 ballistic missiles and could produce as many as 1,300 missiles every year. For Kyiv, that makes Russia's missile capabilities a key priority for both military strikes and sanctions. Zelenskyy has warned that Russia continues to maintain a large stockpile of ballistic missiles, giving Moscow the ability to sustain long-range strikes against Ukrainian targets. Ukraine is therefore stepping up its efforts to locate and destroy Russian missile systems. Zelenskyy says Ukrainian forces recently destroyed an Iskander missile launcher near the Russia-Ukraine border. The operation is part of what he described as an ongoing hunt for Russian missile systems. Kyiv is increasingly focusing its strikes on launchers and other infrastructure that can support Russia's ballistic missile campaign. The objective is clear: reduce Moscow's ability to launch missiles before those systems can be used against Ukrainian cities and military positions. But Ukraine faces a significant challenge. If Russia can produce up to 1,300 ballistic missiles annually, Kyiv believes sanctions and strikes against Russia's missile production capabilities will remain essential. Zelenskyy has argued that limiting Russia's access to components, technology, and production capacity is critical to reducing the long-term missile threat. For Ukraine, the battle is therefore not only about intercepting missiles after they are launched. It is also about finding and disrupting the systems and industrial networks that make those missiles possible. At the same time, Zelenskyy is warning that the threat is not limited to missiles. He says Russia could eventually seek to push toward Kyiv or Chernihiv regions in an attempt to establish what Moscow could describe as a buffer zone. Zelenskyy has stressed that Kyiv remains one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's long-term objectives. Any potential Russian advance toward the capital or Chernihiv would therefore represent a major escalation of the ground war. Ukraine is already facing pressure from Russian attacks across multiple fronts, while also trying to prevent Moscow from creating new strategic positions closer to the capital. Zelenskyy also addressed the departure of Mykhailo Fedorov from his team. According to Zelenskyy, Fedorov was offered 4 different options to remain part of the team, but rejected them. Zelenskyy also said Fedorov had been pushed towards the wrong things. The comments add another layer to ongoing changes within Ukraine's leadership as Kyiv continues managing the demands of the war. Meanwhile, Ukraine's drone warfare strategy is becoming increasingly sophisticated. Analysts say Ukrainian forces are expanding their ability to conduct long-range drone operations deep inside Russian territory. The growing use of drones is opening another front in Ukraine's campaign against Russian military infrastructure. Instead of relying only on conventional weapons, Kyiv is increasingly using drones to identify vulnerabilities, strike strategic targets, and put pressure on Russia far from the front lines. That strategy could also place significant pressure on Russia's air defense network. A large-scale Ukrainian drone operation could force Russia to spread its air defense systems across a much wider area, potentially creating gaps in protection around important military and strategic locations. This is particularly significant as Ukraine looks for ways to reach targets deeper inside Russia. The latest developments underline the increasingly complex nature of the Ukraine war. Russia continues to rely heavily on ballistic missiles and long-range strikes, while Ukraine is targeting missile launchers, production capabilities, and military infrastructure. At the same time, Kyiv is expanding its drone warfare deep into Russian territory. And with Zelenskyy warning about a possible Russian push toward Kyiv and Chernihiv, Ukraine now faces pressure from both the air and the ground. The conflict is rapidly evolving into a battle not only over territory, but also over missile stockpiles, production capacity, air defenses, and long-range strike capabilities.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.